In 1879, the entire town of Deadwood went up in flames. 300 buildings gone. A frontier community wiped out in one night. And that devastating moment of history became the inspiration for this guitar. From using deer antler to glow-in-the-dark powder, I'm going to show you how the coolest ever 7-string baritone guitar was made. Oh, and I have a giveaway hidden somewhere in this video too. Let's go. I choose this top. I milled this butternut top a while ago and it's just been sitting, waiting for the perfect guitar to be a part of. The grain was carefully selected to sort of mimic the body shape and preserve as much of the curly figure as possible. I normally don't mention it this early, but the name of this guitar was already determined to be Deadwood. It'll make sense in a bit. I'm going to attempt my first ever 7-string and my first ever baritone combined in this one guitar. Those other tops in the background are for a future surprise. If you're new here, you'll know that I'm super keen to tone wood and electric guitars. It's totally not a myth at all, and I'm definitely not being sarcastic one bit. That's why I have this super thick chunk of TOAN walnut. It's Quartersawn, which will actually make for an extremely stable body. It's just barely not wide enough to be a body, so I plan to resaw it and laminate some other Quartersawn woods between it. It's not my favorite approach, but it will definitely be extremely stable, which will contribute to a high quality tuning stability. But that's all boring stuff. You know, I've never even played a 7-string guitar before, or a baritone for that matter. So I have no idea why I decided to attempt both of these at once. Before getting started, I didn't even know what the best scale length or string gauges to use were. It was all just sort of a fly by the seat of your pants type build. Are there any 7-string or baritone players in here? I'm curious on your preferred string gauges and scale lengths. I'd rather hear from the players themselves than ChatGPT. One word that constantly comes to mind, at least to me, when thinking about a 7-string baritone is gent. I think that's how you say it. And I know saying that immediately summons images of dudes in flat bill caps wearing gym shorts in the middle of winter, standing in a guitar center trying to tune to drop Z on a 25.5-inch scale. But here's the thing. Gent is actually one of the oldest musical flexes in history. Long before Meshuggah and Periphery, in the great is it gent or is it just metal internet wars, medieval court musicians were basically the original extended range tryhards. These guys were showing up to royal banquets with lutes that had up to 24 strings. Not because the music needed it, not because the tunings were complex, and not because the instrument required it, but because it looked impressive. These dudes were essentially saying, "Count my strings and bow before my superior emotional complexity." It was basically the musical equivalent of rolling up with a 7-string baritone today and just waiting for someone to ask what tuning you're in. And the best part? They weren't even playing delicate fairy tale melodies either. They were shredding. Hard, fast runs, weird scales, impossible chord shapes. All to impress nobles who were probably just trying to chew roasted boar in silence. So while we think of gent as this modern, technical, progressive genre, it's really just a continuation of an ancient human tradition of, hey, look how many strings I have. I am better than you. So whether you're playing drop A sludge riffs, periphery-style polymetric palm mutes, or ambient soundscapes that sound like sadness echoing in a cathedral, just know you're participating in a proud, extremely petty musical lineage. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful. No matter what you play, it's important to practice a lot. I've recently found myself building way more often than I actually play, and that's where Yousician comes in. As a longtime guitar player, I've been slacking so much on practicing, and I'm definitely guilty of being that one guy who doesn't learn full songs so I can never be cool at a party. With Yousician, that changed. Whether you want to pick up a guitar for the first time, or you're getting back into playing like me, Yousician is the easiest way to learn. It's a step-by-step, interactive learning app that gives instant feedback. From the easiest of scales and chords to complicated arpeggios and progressions, I've personally started growing my skill back just by using it a few times a week. With things like daily practice sessions, progress tracking, weekly challenges, and songs by your favorite artists, you really can learn to play guitar the fun way. The only thing missing from that equation is you. This is the biggest sale of the year for Yousician, more than 60% off. It's the best time to hop in on their subscription platform to learn guitar. This offer is a limited time and it ends December 10th, 2025, so make sure you get it while you still can. Anyways, one problem I knew I'd run into was the overall weight of this guitar. So many people complain about weight these days, so I figure I should start focusing on it by chambering more of my builds. This just requires a few extra steps but can shed a few pounds off the overall product. One of the steps is getting the top mostly cut out to find its location on the body blank. This will help make sure the chambered out portion of the body will remain under the top and not reveal itself when I carve or add edge profiles later on. No one likes a big gaping hole in their guitar, except acoustic players. I should probably explain where the name Deadwood came from. Back in the 1870s, a couple of miners wandered into a gulch in the Black Hills, took one look around and said, well, all these trees are dead. And that was it. That was the whole naming process of the town of Deadwood, South Dakota. No committees, no branding team, just two dusty dudes pointing at dead trees like they've discovered a secret to the universe. Meanwhile, I spent 2 weeks trying to name a guitar without sounding like a rejected Skyrim quest. Deadwood wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. The land was under treaty with the Dakota, and the US government said, nobody settle here. And the settlers basically said, cool. Anyway, have you heard about all that gold there? That energy really speaks to me. Should I be building a giant glow-in-the-dark 7-string baritone out of butternut and quartersawn walnut? Maybe, maybe not. Am I doing it anyway? Absolutely. If it worked for the frontier, it can work for my questionable life choices too. Because Deadwood was technically illegal, the town had zero law enforcement. None. It was the 1800s version of a no-rules Discord server or a Walmart parking lot. So while I'm over here trying to build this guitar without crying, the people of Deadwood were out there getting into knife fights because someone had looked at them funny. If this guitar build existed in 1876, it would have been confiscated immediately, either because it was considered witchcraft or because someone wanted to trade it for whiskey. The most famous person in Deadwood was Wild Bill Hickok, who showed up, grew the greatest frontier mustache of all time, and then got shot in the back while holding aces and eights, the dead man's hand. Meanwhile, I'm over here holding my orbital sander like I'm the outlaw. Wild Bill died in a saloon. I'll probably die in a cloud of walnut dust, but at least one of us will be doing what we love. And then there was the Great Deadwood Fire of 1879, which burned the entire town to the ground. Gone, all of it. If you ever feel like you're bad at woodworking, just remember, at least your whole shop hasn't spontaneously combusted. Probably. The charred beams that survived looked like every piece of wood I ruin whenever I forget to raise the router bit slowly. So yes, historically speaking, this guitar is extremely accurate. Deadwood attracted gamblers, gold-hungry prospectors, outlaws, drifters, and at least 12 guys who swore they invented poker. So as I'm ignoring pretty much any safety standard while building this thing, I feel spiritually connected to the town. Deadwood was full of people who absolutely should have thought things through, but didn't. That's the entire vibe of this build. Inspired by a real frontier town where life was rough, the trees were dead, and the decision-making was questionable. Would anyone in 1876 have played a 7-string baritone with glowing inlays and a 28-inch scale? Probably not. Would they have thought I was possessed when the fretboard lit up like a ghost lantern? Probably. But I'm building it anyway, because history is cool and so is poor impulse control. Sometimes. And honestly, Deadwood might be the only town in American history that makes a giant, glow-powered, drop-G-ready baritone actually feel historically appropriate. If this thing survives the build process, it'll already be doing better than the town did in 1879. This glow powder was a last-minute decision, and I later added some wood dust just to give it a gravel-like appearance that you'll see later. I wanted this thing to be perfectly imperfect. Not like a relic, not to hate on relic players, but I loathe the thought of destroying the finish on a guitar to make it look 50 years old and road-worn. It's literally the same thing as distressed blue jeans, which are only appropriate on Sydney Sweeney. Speaking of great jeans, Quartersawn Sapele smells fantastic. It should make for an extremely stable neck as well. The color is nice and there's consistent grain pattern to it, which seemed ideal to contrast from the crazy lamination of the body. Also, it was relatively inexpensive at my local hardwood supplier. Truth is, I've never worked with this stuff before, and now I see why it's so sought after. It smells great, it's easy to work with, it's strong but not heavy, and I'm probably going to stock up on a bunch of this stuff here soon. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know we give away guitars and other things as a show of appreciation to those who stick with us, which leads me to this video's giveaway, specifically tailored to those who want to build a guitar. We decided to give away a complete guitar template kit along with a figured top and a laminated walnut and Spanish cedar neck blank. We're also including a couple of pieces of hardware and a guitar-specific tool. Whoever wins it will get a few calls with us to walk you through the process and make sure you get a complete, functional, and beautiful guitar at the end. To win, all you have to do is like this video, leave a comment down below, and share it to one of your social media platforms. Normally, we hold live streams to randomly select the winner, or we email the randomly selected winner, but this time, we're just going to respond to the winner's comment on December 1st. The winner will be selected at random and there is absolutely no purchase necessary. If you want a chance at winning a guitar in the near future, consider joining the channel as a member. All of our giveaways are no purchase entry, but you get 100 additional entries for supporting the channel as a member. Either way, I'm just glad you're here with us now. Hopefully enjoying the video at least. I messed up the headstock width, so this was a quick way to fix it without being noticeable. Anyways, I've been talking a bunch, I'll let you just enjoy this for a minute. I'm simply just adding a 16-inch radius to the fretboard. I got sick of measuring side dots and trying to get them perfect, so I started making these jigs for different scale lengths. Let me know if I should make them in acrylic and available on my site. Starving artist here. I need new product ideas that will actually sell. I'm not going to go through the whole neck shaping process. I show it in every video, but just know, I definitely cheat and use a big ass router bit for the majority of it. I then take down the transition areas with hand tools, a Dremel, and a drill-driven spindle sander. Efficiency is my best friend here. Sometimes you can't avoid the long, drawn-out tasks like fretwork, but I strive for efficiency wherever possible. I think it's actually laziness. I'm too lazy to take the long route sometimes. But hey, if the finished product is nice, why does it even matter? The Sapele may be gorgeous, but the headstock needed some extra juice with this leftover butternut. I wanted to make some book match veneer with some glow inlays to tie it into the front look of the guitar. I wanted to go the extra mile with the detail on this build because it's part of the Scarlett Guitar's Frontier series. The second one, to be exact. The Frontier series is a series of 4 guitars based on the old Frontier, with aspects of it that give a Wild West 1800s vibe. Kind of the opposite of everything today. One common feature I've been seeing a lot on these new guitars is the Tree of Life inlay. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely cool. But the Frontier series guitars are about standing out and being different. Most guitars that feature a Tree of Life inlay go for a big, elegant, vine-covered, nature is healing kind of look, like the guitars whispering affirmations and burning sage. Mine, absolutely not. Mine has a dead Tree of Life at the 12th fret, because if this is going to be part of the Frontier series, it needs to look like it survived a gunfight, a drought, a tax audit, and 3 broken promises. And honestly, nothing better captures the spirit of the real town of Deadwood than a tree that has fully given up. Like I mentioned earlier, in 1879, the entire town burned to the ground in a massive fire that took out over 300 buildings. People barely escaped. The only things left standing were charred, skeletal timbers that looked exactly like they were auditioning for my fretboard. So while other luthiers are out here inlaying blossoming vines and leaves and symbols of eternal life, I looked at the history of Deadwood and said, you know what, let's be accurate. Let's commemorate the part where everything caught on fire. And that pretty much sums up the Deadwood guitar. It's a tribute to the kind of Frontier spirit where you build something, watch it burn down, and then immediately build it again out of whatever hasn't turned into ash. So the dead Tree of Life is not just an inlay, it's a historical documentation. I had some leftover Sapele, so I made this inlay for the back to hold the string ferrules. I had a little bit of chip out hammering this thing in, but it oddly fits the vibe. At this point in every build, I started to get the itch to just rush through, but it's the worst time to. Any mistake now would be devastating, especially after gluing in the neck. I didn't show it earlier, but the body was sprayed with 2K acrylic for longevity. For contrast and a better feel while playing, the neck is getting oiled. It really highlights the natural look of the Sapele, and it keeps the neck ultra smooth after it's buffed in.
She got bent out of shape with the customer service agent for verifying her information before she just shut off her card.
The final touch includes this deer antler. And don't worry, it was likely harvested from an ethical hunter, but you'll never really know, will you? I've never worked with deer antler before, and let me tell you, this shit absolutely stinks. It smells like burning hair and rotten eggs when you cut into it. No matter how much dust collection I had going, I couldn't escape its putrid smell once cut. Regardless, it's a great material for the nut and is extremely easy to tool. You just have to make sure you avoid the spongy marrow-like center. I guess it also fits the bill of Deadwood. I mean, a lot of guitars use actual bones for the nut, so this isn't too out there. But to see the process really ties it all together. The hardest part was just getting it flat and square on all four sides. But once that was done, it was just like any other nut blank ready to be slotted for strings. Here we are, the last steps to getting this thing ready to play. Just carefully slotting the nut to fit a set of 13 to 70 gauge strings. Getting the right depth and spacing is crucial to make the guitar play well. Having some specialized tools for this really makes it that much easier as well. I was finally able to add the hardware and get this thing strung up. And before I show you, I hope I've done enough to earn your subscription. It really means a lot and it helps a ton with the growth of the channel. This all started with just a love of building guitars, and now a community of almost 30,000 people are along for the ride. Thank you all so much for your continued support, and if you want to be the one to own Deadwood, or see a bunch of pictures of it, I'll leave a link in the description.
Quartersawn Sapele neck. Also got Sapele electronics cover here, and this whole back, including this neck, every single piece of this is Quartersawn.
Yeah, and you can tell that it's Quartersawn by the fact that Sean keeps stroking the wood.
For the front of the guitar, we've got a Leopardwood fretboard, a butternut top, and then this fretboard, the fret markers, which there are also fret markers on the side, that is all glow in the dark.
Sing it. High above the mucky muck, castle made of clouds. Just kidding, no one wants to hear a clean tone on a 7-string baritone.